What I'm going to show you is what something like this actually looks like from my point of view, how we determine whether or not there was a breach and how quickly we can do it. The first thing that happens, and this is actually what happened with Deborah, is an email comes in. And you'll notice here that the user received a phishing email, and it says there, go to this folder. And there's no URL like you'd see in your browser, in your Chrome browser, your Edge browser. It's just this link. And so it hides where this is actually going to take you. And this is something that gets used all the time because they don't want you to see where you're actually going. And they know that most people aren't going to hover over it to see what that URL is, where it's going to take you in your browser. And you can only see that when you roll over it with your mouse. Now, that's not really possible on a mobile device, but if you're on Windows or you're on Mac, you can do that with your mouse. So the click happens. And when the click happens, without checking that URL, it opens this counterfeit fake Microsoft website. And it's a login page, which I'm going to show you in a minute, which is almost indistinguishable from the real thing. And it's pretty normal for this to happen today because so many of us are using the Microsoft platform. And when we click on these links, it's very normal for it to take us out to Microsoft to authenticate. Say, all right, if you want to log into this thing, you're going to have to authenticate with your Microsoft account. And so we've just become accustomed to entering that. And here's what it actually looks like. Now, we made this one up so you could see it, but what they actually do is they put your email address right there. So it's really hard to know that it's not legitimate when you see your own email address already pre-populated. And as you're going through those habits of urgency, you just quickly enter it. I got to get to the next thing. I got to get to the next thing. And so you quickly enter your email address and you give your password. And this is what allows the attacker to gain access to your mailbox. So what they want to do is gain access over your network, over your environment. We call it persistent access. That means now they're in. We probably don't know it, but they're going to start figuring out what else they can access once they've got into your mailbox. Now, I know this is hard to see. We're going to zoom in on this here in a second, but this is a log of events that's going on in this very moment as this attacker gets into the mailbox. And what you'll see here is there's a login that's going on right here. And this is where the cyber criminal was actually able to bypass your multi-factor authentication. So if you're thinking right now, oh, this user probably didn't have multi-factor authentication. Not true, she had it. But they can bypass it because once you enter your username and password, they got you. Now, this is a common thing to happen because what happens when these cyber criminals gain persistent access is they'll often sell access to another cyber criminal. This is just a business for them. And so they're selling and buying information. They sell access to somebody else. And now that other person's going to log in and they're going to see what they can do. So here's how we are able to determine whether or not the breach happened. When they start accessing files, as you can see here, we have a file previewed. And file previewed just means that they're actually looking at a list of files in your Microsoft account. So it'd be the same thing as if you looked at your computer, the My Computer icon, and you went into your C drive or your Documents folder, and you looked at a list of files. That's essentially what they're doing. So they're not actually opening any files yet. However, once we see this, where it says File Accessed, that's where we confirm the data breach actually took place. Now we know that if this file had any electronic patient health information or any personally identifiable information, now you've got a breach. We have no option other than to disclose this to Health and Human Services. When the breach took place, or when we thought there was a breach, we reached out to Breach Counsel, and that's really, really important because Breach Counsel will protect all of the communication that you have under attorney-client privilege. Whenever something like this happens, you want to make sure that immediately you engage with somebody who's experienced in Breach Counsel. It's really, really, really important. So we notified Health and Human Services, and anytime more than 500 records are exposed, you have to also notify local media outlets. Now, this is something that a good breach counsel will do for you. They're going to reach out to a newspaper, television station, something like that, and say, hey, we experienced a breach. We have to notify you. It's part of the breach notification rule. So we did that. We also contacted all the residents, and we posted a breach on the website. After you disclose a breach like this, there's a period of time, anywhere from 4 to 6 months, between when you disclose the breach and when the Office of Civil Rights will reach out to you. And what they'll do is they'll send you a demand letter. So the one we received had 23 items that we had to provide to them. This included things like a full documentation set for what actually happened, access to our system logs. They wanted to see how we were reviewing it. They wanted access to our security risk assessments, not just the one that had been done that year, but had been done in prior years. They wanted workforce training records. How are you training people? What are you doing? What does that look like? Are they doing a good job? They wanted a copy of all of our IT policies and procedures, and they wanted access to all of the BAAs and all of our vendor documentation. Had we been doing due diligence on all of our vendors, that we have all that documentation? Because OCR doesn't want to just know what happened in a breach. They want to know you were prepared. They want to know you were doing these things proactively, that you had these habits in place to make your organization safer. The user experienced what we call an adversary in the middle attack. So they jumped in the middle of this authentication process where the user was trying to authenticate, they stole their credentials, and it allowed them to gain access.